Happy Friday, PSWs and friends across Ontario and Canada. My name is Miranda Romanovic. I'm the CEO of the Ontario PSW Association and host of PSW Podcast, where we come to you guys live every single Friday at 11 a.m. We stream here on Facebook and on TikTok, where we talk about the real issues in the PSW world. We talk about new and upcoming things, we talk about courses, and we talk about the actual gray area that nobody wants to talk about in the PSW world. And yet again, I'm joined by my co-host and chief operating officer of both the Ontario PSW Association and the Canadian Support Workers Association, Ian De Silva. And we are here today to talk to you guys about working short.
Yes, working short.
Seems to be a topic of conversation, Ian,
It
that
shouldn't be a topic of conversation, Miranda. There should
no,
be working short in Ontario right now. I'm completely at a loss as to why we're still hearing people saying, I'm working short. Let's dive right in. What have you
yeah,
heard?
yep. So, I mean, we've heard all sorts of things from personal support workers across our wonderful province, but we've also heard things from the government. So, we've heard from the government that things are going great in long term care in relation to the 4 hours of care per resident in long term care. But then we're hearing from the PSWs that they are still working doubles and they are still working short and they cannot get a breath.
Yeah, it seems like the ministry is talking out both sides of its mouth these days, where it's saying that there is tons of money for all sorts of increasing care, yet our evidence is showing that there's still huge care gaps. So something is fishy. What's going on? Our members are saying shortages. Which is why we talk about ratios right now, because it's obviously that the 4 hours of care is not doing the job.
Not doing the job. I mean, as for those of you that have never watched us on here on PSW podcast, I am a personal support worker. I'll be celebrating my 20 years this coming June 2026, and I worked in long-term care for close to a decade, and I never worked a fully staffed shift. I don't even know what that feels like. I don't even know what that would be like. In my brain, it's a very heavenly place. In my brain, it's something you know, uh, out of a novel, like a fairy tale that, working a fully staffed shift because we never did.
Yeah.
No, we never did. And now what we're hearing from our members, they're working doubles. We
This
got
is
PSWs working serious doubles.
So what is going on? So we have lots of PSWs that want to work in long-term care right across Ontario. There's no problem finding PSWs that want the work.
No.
Yet we're seeing shortages, working short. So where's this bottleneck? What do you think?
You know what I think it is, honestly, Ian? I think that what we're dealing with is a very, as you have said before in the past, an archaic system,
Yeah,
a very old school system in healthcare that is not, it's just not up to snuff anymore. Like a lot of the PSWs we talk to talk about, the call-in system, that they have. So if someone calls out for a shift or whatever, they have a call system. And one of the PSWs I spoke with, it was an interesting conversation because she worked with the scheduler because she was on modified. And she
right.
said they would call, like the senior staff would get the calls first, but then they'd wait for hours. They would give these staff hours to call back to get the shifts, like, to give them an opportunity to take the shift.
Oh,
Well,
right,
by the
right.
time they do that, the next round of PSWs have come in to work the next shift and they're working short because nobody called back or people called in to say no and they didn't call down the roster. Now, when I asked this PSW how many PSWs were on the roster, I was blown away by the number. She said 500.
500.
500. So explain to me, like, and I get it. Okay, I get it. I get the whole bargaining. I get the whole
Yeah,
union
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I get it. I get seniority. I understand that. But when it comes down to, at the end of the day, patient-centered care, resident-centered care, you should be thinking about making sure that there's enough PSWs on the floor in order to provide that level of care that those residents deserve,
Absolutely.
not thinking, oh, I'm going to hurt Susie Q's feelings because I didn't give her 3 hours to call me back.
Well, no, and it sounds like that the collective bargaining agreements have more power than the needs of the patients when it comes to that. So when it comes to, based on what you're saying now, if I was a recruiter or a scheduler, I'm more worried about the union attacking me and getting mad at me than I am about a patient not getting care. That's where my head goes. I don't know if that's, I'm not saying that's the case because I don't know, but
No,
based on optics, that seems to be some evidence for that. So
it's
we,
concerning.
well, it's concerning because again, as we've said before, we're dealing with unions that were founded through since like the early 20th century in some cases, that during a very different time, dealing with a very different environment. Um, Many of these are industrial foundations, and you're trying to apply that to a caregiving situation, and it's just not compatible. And
No.
and that's why you have, and that's what explains why you have certain PSWs making very, very lucrative amounts of money in these situations.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
And
let's tell that story,
well,
Ian. That was
we have
interesting.
about six PSWs in Ontario, and more power to them. They're making over 100,000 a year. They do the job. That's great. This is not a, if you can make 100,000 a year, this is a capitalist world. You do it. Like I get it. The problem that we're seeing though is that those same homes are showing people that work at those same facilities are saying that they can't get hours. We're not seeing that those homes have better care delivery outcomes. We're not seeing that they have more time with the patients. What we're
No.
seeing is that those available hours are being concentrated into the hands of a very few specialized senior workers, which likely are being protected by a collective bargaining agreement, which embeds some sort of seniority clause into it. So what really runs long-term care are the collective bargaining agreements.
Absolutely.
So that's what's in charge of long-term care. That's what's in charge of staffing. It's not the schedulers. It's this terror of if you violate that collective bargaining agreement, it doesn't matter what's happening to the patients. It doesn't matter.
Just so you're aware, Ian, on TikTok, I got them right now. They are totally in agreement with what you're saying. They're saying that's exactly what is happening. Is
Oh,
staff
it's
is
totally
afraid of the unions.
because the unions are extremely bullying in this case, and unions will not back down when it comes to defending their members. Hey, more that's great. That's what unions are supposed to do. But at what point does backing a senior member come to conflict with the role of what long-term care is? What is the ethical bound duty of a long-term care facility? That is to provide care, not to ensure that a collective bargaining agreement is adhered. It becomes almost biblical in its approach. So that's how we see it, and that's what our evidence is seeing when we're getting feedback from.
We're not bashing the unions at
No, no,
all.
this is what
They play an
happens.
important role. It's just this is the archaic system that you've talked about for years,
Yeah,
Ian.
it's we've gotten a system, and again, this we're all part and parcel to this. No one person set this up. This has been evolving for decades, but we're seeing the effect of it now. Is it is actually impacting patient care because it seems to me that that there is a lot of terror over the fear of having some sort of conflict with your steward or union. So it is question one does question it about what value that plays in our delivery system.
Yeah, and you know what I'm seeing on TikTok right now is they're so sick and tired of it. The PSWs are so sick and tired of it. And
Well,
you know what a lot of PSWs don't know though, Ian, is there is rapid change coming to the PSW profession in Ontario.
I'm
I'm not at liberty to share what that rapid change
not
is
sure.
right now. I cannot. We are embargoed, which means I cannot speak of it. However, um, there will be good change coming down the pipeline. And if you
No,
don't like change, you're not going to like this, but it's a really good change. And I think it's going to be a good change, Ian, for the PSWs, for the residents, and for the clients, and everyone that we care for in Ontario. And it's going to it's going to recognize the PSW on a level where they should have been recognized a very long time ago.
agreed. Absolutely. I think let's very much hope that these changes are what we hope they are.
Fingers, toes, and eyes
But
crossed.
back to the thing, like look what's happening
Yeah.
in Alberta. We're just hearing about like as the Kanswa, the situation in Alberta, there's strikes going on. Like
Yeah, there's a lot of unrest in
yeah,
the
there is.
frontline healthcare world right now. But you know where I'm not upset about it, Ian? I'm not upset about where the PSWs and the HCAs, you know, in Alberta, they really are stepping forward and they're saying enough is enough. We're done with this. You need to make changes, and they're looking at those change makers. But I do want to say that out of all of the surveys we've done, the conversations we've had with PSWs over the years, especially lately, the PSWs have been very vocal to the association with a lot of issues. It seems to be that the employers, not all, but that seems to be kind of the steady force of issue are the employers. And that makes my heart sad because we should all be working together in order to build a better tomorrow for those that are in the care of PSWs. But unfortunately, that's really what we're hearing is it's the employers. And going back to the archaic thing, right? This is why things are not working, is because you have an old system in a new world. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens down the line when it comes to long-term care, retirement homes, because there's a lot of movement happening in these places. There's a lot of things that are rapidly changing. So
Oh,
hopefully for the better.
well, we've talked about retirement homes for a while, and retirement homes are seeing more acuity care levels, so there needs to be some changes, absolutely. But there is positive things happening, and thank you for saying so, because I think there is, it's easy to go negative. But we're
Yeah.
seeing there's some comments coming in. I'm not sure, I didn't get a chance to see them. So
I have comments on TikTok too.
okay, I just home care PSW. It's bad in home care too. Yeah, it's everywhere. It seems to be that
Well, and that's why we talked about home care last week
yeah.
or the week before, is because we have not forgotten about home care. So I don't want you guys to think that we have. We have not forgotten about home care. But the majority of the voices that we're hearing that are coming to us just happen to be long-term care PSWs.
Yeah.
Hmm, that's where we're seeing most of the divide. Sorry to cut you off, Ian.
No, no, no. Sorry. We're so surprised by it though, because all the indicators from the minister are indicating that this is a complete success. We've won the battle. Long-term care is safe. Minister Kuznova is that we're good. It's safe. Nursing is the issue. That's the priority is nursing. Okay, cool. Um,
Hmm. But nursing's not the issue, and that's always been. And I'm all for the nurses getting whatever they need because nurses play a very important role
yeah, this isn't
in
about nursing.
healthcare.
No, no,
It's
this is
not
about
about nurses, but it's about the fact that PSWs make up about 67% of long-term care staff.
exactly. And they're being completely disregarded by the Ministry of Long-Term Care.
Right now they are
Right now they are.
absolutely hugely,
No, no,
which is bigly, it's very much disappointed. And they can talk about the incentive and they can talk about those things.
but
And
yeah,
go ahead. No,
the incentive's not even run through the Ministry of Long-Term Care. It's run through Ontario, the Health Force
Health
Ontario.
Force Ontario.
It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with them. So the ministry has really taken a real big step back from it from when it comes to the PSW workforce in the last year. We've seen that, and that's another issue we're seeing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's
Been a
kind of like, well,
complete-
the PSWs are there. And it's like,
Well,
oh,
we're not even getting that from the ministry.
no,
So yeah,
no, that's very, very
the
true.
ministry is saying there's nurses and patients, but PSWs do the work. So yeah, funny.
Well, it's interesting. One of the PSWs here on TikTok just said that fast tracking the PSW program has hurt the industry, in their opinion.
Of
And you
course.
know what? I might get some hate for this, but I agree. I agree. When I took the PSW program, it was 8 months long, which is 1 year in community college. And it was the toughest 8 months I've ever had. Like, I've done other schooling and I've never had so much work to do in that eight
Yeah, you
months.
said that,
Yeah.
and yet, yeah, and again, the fast tracking was designed for it was a reaction to the COVID and the shortage that existed then. Why we're still fast tracking PSWs now makes absolutely no sense. I mean, anyone who's saying that they can fast track a PSW in 6 weeks, we've seen the PSWs that are coming from these programs, well-meaning but totally ill-equipped for the job.
Let's talk about when I went on TikTok live last week. And I had a great conversation with a bunch of PSWs. We had about 90 people on there. And I was talking about how we've had students or new graduates come to the association with the most bizarre questions and questions that they shouldn't really
They
honestly be
should know.
asking,
They should
that
know.
they should know. And one of them was like, we have, new graduates that don't know what VRE, MRSA, C. difficile is. What? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I had one girl, love her, she came forward and said, I never learned about it. I now work in long-term care. And I remember when I first started long-term care and we had a C. diff outbreak, and I turned to my coworker and said, what the heck is C. diff? Why do you not know what C. difficile is?
Why don't you
Why
know?
do you not know what these things are? Then we have another individual telling us that they don't even do hands-on lift training. And they just watch a video. And we did our homework and we looked it up. And I'm not going to throw any colleges under the bus on this, but we did look it up. And that was the truth.
Lift training has to be done in person. I mean, there is, if you're going to do it, if you have to do it online, then you need to have a VR set in place, like Sioux College had, like years back. They have everything set up. It's got to be that way. Just put video. I'm not even sure if watching a video would qualify those graduates for insurance for the association.
I don't know either. And that's
That's where we have colleges making independent
Mhm.
decisions that are impacting the profession and diluting the value of their graduates, but they don't care. So
No, they don't
colleges that are
care.
putting a video in to show that they're doing lift training, we need to have a conversation with those colleges saying, your graduates may not be eligible to perform jobs in Ontario.
Here's the thing. Like
Sorry.
I don't know why there's this kind of headspace in Ontario that the personal support worker is an easy job. I really want to constantly bring that up because it's not an easy
Not
job.
an easy
It
job.
is one of the hardest and most dangerous jobs in healthcare. And the public needs to recognize that, the higher ups need to recognize that, and give the recognition and the supports to the field that they need and deserve. I'm really tired of that. Oh, anybody can use a Hoyer lift. Are you bloody kidding me? You know how many times when I'd put that sling on an individual that I'd have to constantly rethink of how to do it? And they're constantly changing these things too. So, like when I was working as a PSW, we had a sit to stand lift that they don't use anymore because it's not safe. Like there's
No,
so
we
many.
can go on. It's ridiculous. It's just this mentality of we got to pound them out is ridiculous. We
And
we
Ian, how many times a week do you and Nicole deal with people, PSWs, that cannot find work?
This is the next issue we're dealing with. So we have short staff. Yeah, this is another issue. So there is a need in long-term care for PSWs. Those who are on the rosters are not getting hours, so they're
Oh,
on the roster, so they're leery to apply for other jobs because they don't want to lose their potential for long-term care.
yeah.
And yet we have lots of PSWs that can't get work. So there's a huge disconnect in the Ontario healthcare system right now with this. And anyone who says there's a shortage. So PSWs, if you're looking to get into the program now, please make sure you go to a reputable program that is not fast tracked.
No.
If you're looking for a program that's going to say we can get you a PSW out of here in 5 weeks, and you're going to be working long term care, if it sounds too good to be true, because it's too good to be true.
Yeah, the reality of it is you will not find like I don't know how many hearts we've broken,
Oh my
Ian.
God.
And I mean, it breaks my heart to say it to them because they're like, well, they told me in school I get hired right away in long-term care. And they even say full-time hours, which
They've
is
told
just
them
beyond laughable.
they've told graduates you'll get full-time hours, and then when they can't help them, they say, "Go, we'll talk to OPSWA." And then they come to us and they say, "Well, we were told to come to you for jobs, and we don't know your college. We've never heard of this college." So the colleges have scammed them, saying, will take your money, give you a degree, and then we're going to refer you to an association to whom we have no contact with to help you." You've
Yep.
gotten scammed. Sorry, but
Yeah.
you've been scammed.
There's more and more of those, right?
There's
And but you
worse
know
now
what
than it
I
was.
feel? Yeah, I know. And more than I've ever seen, really truthfully. But one thing that we're hearing a lot of that I feel for my brothers and sisters, PSWs, are these new PSWs that don't realize they don't have the necessary training. And then they're going into these long term care homes, they're
Yep.
going into home care, they're going into retirement homes, hospital, and they have no bloody clue what they're doing. And that falls on the veteran PSWs. That falls on them. So now they're not only responsible for doing their workload, they now have to assist and teach this new PSW how to do theirs.
Yeah, and if that PSW isn't up to task, the older PSW is somehow responsible.
Yeah, which blows my mind.
But which is somehow the truth. They're like, and they're literally telling someone, "Can you transfer your skill set to that person who's going to make less than you? That way we can fire you when that person's ready." Thanks.
Yeah,
We get that
yeah,
a lot too.
yeah,
Can
we
you
get that a
train
lot.
replacement? It'd be really great if you could train this lady who has no education. You can train her to do your job, and then when you're done training her, can you resign? Because we're
Hmm.
going to pay her a lot less than you. That works out really good for us. Thanks.
And it's depressing. And
So depressing.
you hear about the burnout, and you hear about the burnout. You hear about all the time. We hear about the frustrations. We hear about and I get it.
Oh,
I get it. I absolutely get it. I mean, I loved being a preceptor when I worked in long-term care, but there was more than a handful of students that I dealt with as a preceptor that I wanted to kick in the butt out to the street because they had no interest. I mean, You know what was really sad is we had someone say the other night, a family member say that the PSWs, they just don't do anything anymore, and they stand there and they talk to each other about their weekend, and they go on their phones and they don't pay any attention to the residents.
Yeah, I'm sure they're out there. I'm not.
Oh, I know they're out there. They've always been out there, but it seems to be more prevalent.
Well, because there's no, yeah, because we're pumped. There's just tons of PSWs because there's no title protection for this group.
Yeah.
Anyone can still call themselves a PSW. As it stands right now, you can just declare yourself to be a PSW, and a lot of long-term care homes, which we're trying to actually reach out to. This is why we need title protection because we have long-term care homes hiring PSWs because they look at the diploma and they say that's a good enough for us. They are so exposed to risk. They are so
Oh,
many fraudulent
unbelievable.
diplomas. There are so many fraudulent diplomas out there now. And
Ottawa.
I wonder why is the PSW wage going down? How are you supposed to compete against fake PSWs? With a
Well, we
government
just had that in Ottawa, right?
yeah, and they just had seven in Ottawa. So now all those legitimate graduates who paid money are now competing against those fraudsters and long-term care homes because they don't want to do any verification, they don't want to embed any more expense, are more than happy to expose their residents to risk. I'm gonna be honest, if you're not getting an OPSWA member or a HESCAPOA member, if they're not registered with both, you have a lot of risk that you're exposed to. So you know who you are. And
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
come on, it's getting a bit silly. So
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. We're just getting gifts on here. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
can't see. I don't know
Ian
what's
has no
happening.
idea.
I
No,
think,
you know what? And it's bang on. There is a lot of risk, and we say this to PSWs all the time, and I feel like a broken record. And unfortunately, that's what we are because it's like, and I'm going to speak to my fellow PSWs. You guys are stubborn as all hell. Like it's stubborn, stubborn, stubborn. Like we're telling you, you need insurance. We're not just saying it
oh my
to
God,
make a
yes.
buck. I don't care if you go down the street to another insurance provider and you get that insurance. That
Yeah,
would make me happy. That make all of us happy. We want you to be protected. And that's why we always say if you're not an OBSWA member, you are not protected. And we are really pushing HESCAPOA. So you also need to get registered with the regulator in
yes,
Ontario as well.
absolutely. This is where we're heading in Ontario. And also you need to get registered with us in Hescapoa. How else are you going to claim if there's a tax credit coming down the line? You need a way to prove it. And
Absolutely.
and a T4 might not be enough. So and again, like we don't even know who's out there that's PSW. So there's a lot of
Oh,
exposure to risk that we're really concerned about.
I'm concerned, and I have a lot of friends that are PSWs. I myself being a PSW, and the hard work the struggle that so many of us have done for a very long time to, ensure proper care for the residents and clients and patients in this province,
Yeah,
to lift the profession, to ensure, you know, recognition of the profession. And now we got these fraudsters.
yeah,
They've always been out there. I mean, Bob's School of PSWs, enough said. But they just seem to be more now. Like
yeah.
it's really concerning.
I agree.
Yeah, and then we got the
Well, yeah,
PSWs that are taking the courses. I mean, we have one girl right now that's out $1,700. She was completely frauded. I'm not
by
going to
that
say
other
where she went, but by that one that we talked about earlier.
yeah, we're
But
gonna have to do a bit more of an expose on some of these courses and name names because some of this stuff we are getting scammed on, and we reviewed that matter, and I'm like,
I can name this one then, if you say
then
that,
name it.
because
Yeah,
I
no,
can.
because
This
you
is the
are.
National Association of Caregiver Certified Caregivers, PSW. So they call themselves NACC PSW. They are located out of the United States,
They
ladies and
are American.
gentlemen. They're American. They used to be Canadian. They were shut down by the Ministry of Colleges and Universities here in Ontario. They went down to the States. They're offering a fully online course for like $1,700,
Yeah,
and it is not recognized at
by anyone.
all in Ontario or anywhere in Canada.
It's not
So
even recognized in the States by anyone outside of the founding of the corporation itself. So the corporation is self-recognizing itself and saying that it's accredited by itself.
you
That's
can't
not
do that.
acceptable. You can't do that. So and I'm like so as a result, we do apologize for graduates who've been misled on behalf of the the NACC PSW. We do not recognize it. You are not eligible to practice here in Ontario. We will not offer you membership. We will encourage you to get a proper certificate from a real college.
So, I mean, in the new year, Ops was going to be looking to actually place all of the actual schools that are legitimate on our website
Yep.
for people to actually see and look at because, like, this is like this poor person. I can't even call her a PSW. This poor individual just so badly wants to work in Ontario as a PSW and is not a recognized program in the least. They took total advantage of her. I feel absolutely terrible for it. But listen, if you're looking at a course, even your clinical, it's all online, it's not real. It's not real. The PSW, like there is an online course through Booth University College out of Manitoba. It's a fantastic course for the PSW, but they have their clinical is done in your own town.
Yeah, you
So
have.
you have to do in-person clinical. So, that's the difference, right? Like, and this was all done online, and then they have to stay members of the association, that
That's the other
National
part that.
Association of Certified Caregivers every year.
So to everyone in Canada listening, the company is NACC PSW. It is piggybacking off the National Association of Career Colleges marketing to attempt to make a buck off you. So it is
It
not
is
it
not
is not
now.
the National Association of Career Colleges, whom we work with, who we respect. This is the National Association of Certified Caregivers, which was created by the National Association of Certified Caregivers and is recognized by themselves. It's a scam. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a complete and utter
And
scam.
at least it is if you're operating in Ontario, then for the benefit of our law, you have no business doing this here. Sorry.
No, no,
No,
no,
you won't recognize.
no. And we even, so the reason why we can talk about this just for transparency reasons is because we actually contacted them directly and we were asking questions and they came back and threatened us
Well, the answers
because
were extremely unsuitable, and nor did they defend their actions. They can't cause. I see no evidence here of legitimacy. I'm terribly sorry.
nope, nope, I totally agree. I totally agree. Wow, what a conversation. We went all
Yeah,
over the place, Ian.
we did.
You guys
On
should
a
hear our
Friday, we just
personal
went all over.
conversations. You guys should hear our personal conversations.
That,
Yeah, they're all over the place too. But anyways, it's been a ride. It's been a lot of fun. I think what are we talking about next week? I believe we're going to be talking about title protection.
we got to talk about title protection. I think this is the thing that we've been dancing around, and we're seeing the effects of it. Everyone is saying, they can't get work. We have employers that will hire someone blindly that says they have a PSW certificate. They have no way of verifying it other than using their own eyes and seeing the document. That is no longer acceptable for patients in Ontario healthcare for safety. The time is up. We have to stop doing title protection.
Amen.
The next week.
So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. And then I believe I'm going to be joined I'm December 14th by the CEO of the Hescapoa.
That's right. Yes.
He is going to be coming on, I think, of the 11th. Is the 11th? I don't remember. It's that Friday. You guys will know about it because we're going to advertise. But Trevor Lee will be joining me on PSW Podcast to talk about Hescapoa, which I think is really important because he's a great guy and he's genuine and he will tell it like it is. So stay tuned for that as well. I will not be going live on TikTok after PSW Podcast. I will be going live on TikTok later this evening for OPSWA After Dark. So I'll probably be live on TikTok around 6:30 tonight. So make sure to come on there if you guys have questions, concerns, want to talk PSW, or you just want to have a conversation. I'm good with that as well.
Can I talk tonight about I want to talk about some courses that were changing about home care safety.
Absolutely.
We'll talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll be talking about that tonight as well.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone for joining us again for yet another episode of PSW Podcast. It's always an absolute it's a joy to come here
It
every
is.
Friday and talk about this stuff. And Ian, thanks again for joining me as usual every single Friday. Remember, we always stream live on Facebook or our TikTok. If you're not following us on TikTok, make sure to get on there because that's where I go live more than a few times a week and talk to PSWs and answer questions. So remember, if you're not a member, you're not protected. Head over to our website, www.opswa.ca. Link is in bio, both on Facebook and on TikTok. So make sure you guys get on it. It's about protection and it's all tax deductible. So make sure you get on it. And yeah, with that, I guess I'm going to say, OPSWA out.